Hi guys, I lied. I figured out another woody fragrances video to do, woody gourmands. You know, I was putting together notes for another video and I thought to myself, 54 is a woody gourmand. It's got a lot of patchouli in it and it also has sandalwood. That's what I would call this fragrance. So I decided to put together a woody gourmands list for you, but this is the end of the list. I don't think I'll be able to do any more after this because by the time this video airs, I'll be in Europe. But if you want to find out about woody gourmands, also a little more details on 54, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. Yes, I've done quite a bit of woody fragrance videos. There's a whole playlist of the whole entire series. You can go watch them back to back. But we started out with a general woody fragrances video. I've done woody chypre fragrances, woody aromatic fragrances, woody amber fragrances, woody leather fragrances, woody spicy fragrances, woody citrus fragrances, woody aquatic and marine fragrances, woody powdery, woody musky fragrances, woody fruity fragrances, and now it's all about woody gourmands. Do you like this category? You know, I'm a big fan of gourmands. I don't even know why I didn't think about this category until very last minute. But here I have 13 great fragrances, and I'm going to leave 54 till the last. And I'm hoping that by the time this video airs, this thing is already on Harrods because it took a long time for that thing to get on there. The dates were completely off. I think Harrods had some issues or something. I don't know what the hell is going on over there. They even have the wrong details in the beauty coming soon section of the website. They don't even mention patchouli, and the thing is a patchouli. It just made it sound like a tropical kind of a fragrance, which is not really. I mean, you do get the pina colada in there and the rum, but that's minute amounts of it. It's mostly a very warm, spicy, ambery, vanillic, patchouli focused fragrance. But anyway, let's start with the first fragrance. It's the house of Maison Margiela. It's Afternoon Delight, this one right here. So this is interesting. The more I wear it, the more sandalwoody it becomes. So now I'm calling it more of a woody gourmand fragrance. The Madeleine Accord in here, a lot of you were asking me if it was similar to Laurence Dumont's Tendre Madeleine. It's not actually. The ideas might be the same, but that one doesn't have that much woods in there. This is all woody, and I think the creaminess, the milky lactonic touches we're getting in this is coming from the sandalwood. So I consider this a very sandalwoody fragrance with a lot of vanilla and somewhat of a Madeleine Accord. It doesn't smell anything like Tendre Madeleine, but I'm quite liking it. The only thing I fear is this might be a bit polarizing, like Vanilla Sex from the house of Tom Ford. Let me know your thoughts, because I'm hearing negative things about this fragrance. I actually really love it, and I also really love, you know, Vanilla Sex, so I'm going to recommend this one, but maybe you're not a fan of Afternoon Delight. What are your thoughts? Put a comment down below. Let's move on to the next fragrance, going to the house of DS and Durga's Pistachio, this one right here. Pistachio is a really delicious woody fragrance. There's a lot of patchouli in here, which is considered an earthy woody note. So it's balanced out with roasted almonds, pistachio in the top and the heart and the base notes. There's some cardamom in here and also vanilla cream. There's a light hint of something like angel or something, like Muglaire's Angel. I think it's because of the addition of the patchouli note, but it's got a very creamy, smooth ride. I feel like there's also probably some sandalwood in this as well, because very creamy, and it could be coming from the vanilla cream, but there's definitely a woody experience in the dry down for me, so maybe there's some sandalwood in this as well. But really wonderful offering from this house, Pistachio. What are your thoughts on that one? Next, going to the house of Profumo di Firenze. It's Fior di Pane, this one right here. Fior di Pane is creating a bread smell with kind of other notes. There's a bread note in here, but there's also lots of woods in here as well, and the types of notes in here are giving us a bit of a steamy, hot, baked bread experience coming from perhaps a bakery. You walk into the bakery and they're baking bread and things like that, especially in places like Italy and France, where you go to a bakery to buy these kind of, breads and sweets and things like that. So it has that kind of an experience going in here. But there's also citruses, fresh notes, violet notes, and floral notes in here as well. Really wonderful woody gourmand, I think. It's Profumo di Firenze, Fior di Pane. And then going to the house of NISHANE, it's Ani, this one right here. Ani is very sandalwoody, but there's a lot of vanillic notes in here, along with some zingy spices, and, you know, pungent spices like cardamom and ginger are very, very prominent in this. It's a really great smelling fragrance, I think. It smells fantastic, the way the notes are blended. This is probably considered one of my favorite fragrances from the perfumer Cecile Zorokian. I think she did an amazing job on this. Sort of kind of lightly hints at the discontinued Dries Van Noten from the House of Frederick Malle. Not identical because it doesn't have a lot of ginger and the cardamom that's here in the other. But I get somewhat of touches. But for me, it's kind of a gourmand light, but very woody, very vanillic, ambery, and of course spicy with those cardamom and ginger notes. Really something special here. NISHANE Ani is fantastic. So last I heard that MOLINARD is going to be changing their bottles, but this is one of my all-time favorite fragrances from the house of MOLINARD. It's Secret Sucre, this one right here. Sadly, it gets ruined with the dripping for some reason. So maybe that's why they're changing their bottles. This is the last time I heard this from visiting the MOLINARD boutique in Paris on the Rue Saint-Honoré. But the reason what I like is this one is like a simple syrup come to life, that kind of a gourmand. It's got nougat, caramel, vanilla, walnut, benzoin, tonka, sandalwood. Really wonderful combination. It doesn't come off too... It wears simple, like simple syrup, I should say. It doesn't have like an adventure you can go through. It's just this nice warm gourmand hug with slight nutty touches, ambery touches, vanillic touches, woods, and of course other kind of gourmand notes thrown in. It's simply fantastic. Me, growing up Middle Eastern, my mom made baklava, and you know, I made simple syrup for her. So I used to love to make simple syrup because you'd put it all over the baklava. Not honey, we didn't do honey. And this kind of reminds me of that simple syrup that I used to make, boil it on the pot and add a little orange blossom in it. So it's got that kind of a vibe going for it. It's a really delicious offering. Secret Sucre from the house of MOLINARD. Let me know if you're familiar with that one. Next, going to the house of Atelier des Ors. It's Rouge SARAY. I haven't spoken about this one quite a bit for a while, but I love this one. Really is one of my favorite fragrances from this house. It's just a really delicious gourmand with a kind of a creamy base, so gaiac woody and maybe a bit sandalwoody as well, but it's all vanillic, dates, plums, cinnamon, patchouli, which is also a bit of a woodiness there, and Peru balsam. So it's quite balsamic and ambery and vanillic, but what I like this is because it almost seems like dried fruits in a bowl drizzled with some kind of a molasses or a sweet syrup or something, and you eat that. That's kind of the experience I get. You know, you've got dates that are dried, maybe plums, and you want to make some kind of a dessert by drizzling it with a really delicious syrup on top. That's what I get with this one. So it's Rouge SARAY from the house of Atelier des Ors. Then go into the house of CHABAUD. It's LAIT et Chocolat, this one right here. LAIT et Chocolat is a really yummy, almost Nutella-like chocolate, but a little different. It's not quite... I don't get the hazelnut experience with this that I do with Nutella. But it's kind of that creamy smoothness with this one. Maybe it's a different kind of a chocolate spread, but it's a really yummy gourmand. It's one of my favorites from this house and very chocolatey. And there's also some powdery touches in there as well. But it's jasmine with musk, chocolate, cedar, teakwood, vanilla, milk chocolate. Yeah, it's very milky, creamy, a bit lactonic, but very gourmand and very woody at the same time. LAIT et Chocolat. Wonderful offering from that house. Let me know if you're familiar with that. The next fragrance we're talking about is from the house of Maison Tahiti. It's Van Ecstasy, this one right here. This is probably my favorite vanilla from this house. It's a really sexy vanilla. It's a lot of vanilla. It's super sugary sweet, but there's a lot of sandalwood here and cedar as well in the dry down. So it's a bit creamy and woody for sure, but up top it's all this kind of like golden, syrupy, sticky, vanillic spiciness thrown in. There's also caramel in here, coconut, milk to give you a bit of milkiness, creaminess, and balsamic touches from the Peru balsam. This is fantastic, really yummy. I love it, and I liberally spray this stuff because this brand is not necessarily overly expensive. Let me see, by the time I air this video, I don't know, I've been waiting for them to launch another collection. I'm hoping they would. They've launched the coffee, the chocolate or cacao, and also vanilla. So what's going to be their next collection? I was hoping it was going to be caramel. Do you guys know? Maybe Tonka? Who knows? But Van Ecstasy from Maison Tahiti is fantastic. So I threw in one boozy gourmand here from the house of Unique Luxury. It's Couté, this one right here. Are you guys familiar with this one? So Couté is a very boozy, whiskied, tobacco, caramelly concoction. There's ambery touches in the dry down. For sure there's sandalwoody touches. And of course there's vanillic touches here as well. It's fresh with bergamot and davana up top. And along the way, you'll also experience some nagarmotha. So it comes off boozy. It's the nagarmotha, the whiskey together kind of creates like a real aged liqueur kind of an experience. And along the way, there's the oud in there. It's kind of woody and a bit funky, slightly. But in the end, it's a really delicious boozy gourmand, an authentic kind of a boozy experience from the house of Unique Luxury. I feel like it also reminds me a little bit of the Nasomato fragrance, Baraonda. You guys familiar with that one? This is a lot more beastly, I think. I think this is an extrait de parfum, although that is an extrait parfum as well, but I feel like this acts a bit more intense on skin. But it's Unique Luxury's Couté. Let me know if you're familiar with that one. Up next, going to the house of Kais, an indie artisanal house with Frangipani al Pistachio, this one right here. So it's kind of a slight tropical gourmand, and once again, a pistachio fragrance. We already featured one. But here we have a kind of a gourmand fragrance with a floral twist and also a nutty, creamy twist, which dries down to kind of a woody dry down. It's featuring almonds, tonka, vanilla, pistachio, heliotrope, sugar, cream, and sandalwood. For me, it's uber creamy and very, very cozy and comforting. It's just this kind of fragrances just has a very cozy, familiar feeling, like you're at mom's working with her, you know, doing some desserts or cooking or something. And that's the kind of vibe I get with this kind of a fragrance. And that's the fact that it has cream and milky kind of touches in here as well. Those are all very cozy notes, you know. So this fragrance really is delicious. It's not like a wow, but it's not a wow, you know, but it's actually really yummy. It's just a kind of a slight nutty floral kind of a take on pistachio. It has a creaminess and of course that dried down with the sandalwood. One other thing I should say is if you guys are familiar with the Italian pistachio creams, there's a slight touch of that kind of an experience in here. It's a delicious delicacy from Italy. I try and bring a jar back with me every time. It's almost like a peanut butter spread, but made with pistachio, but more decadent. Really yummy. But either way, this is Kais Frangipani al Pistachio from the house of Kais. And the next one is from the house of Sarah Baker. It's not Ludo, I'm saying. It's Gold Spot. So Ludo came before this. It started out with Symmetry, which was more of a woody citrus. Then it went a bit gourmand, keeping the citrus touches. Now with Gold Spot, it's the most gourmand, and it's a really yummy woody take on a gourmand with dark chocolate, oud, agarwood, butterscotch, vanilla, cypriol, myrrh, amber, orange blossom, musk, petitgrain. If you like a gourmand mixed in with woods, this is definitely the one you should try. It's a great house created by Chris Maurice. This is, like I said, an evolution. It started out with a more simplistic oud and citruses combo. Then I feel like Ludo was a bit more gourmand, but not necessarily uber. I think some of you didn't like the oud in that one, but here it's even further gourmand. And I know that Chris Maurice makes really great fragrances, and I think if you love Xerjoff fragrances, you're definitely going to really dig this gourmand fragrance, because Chris Maurice does really great work with ouds and gourmands, and he did a great job with Gold Spot. So it's Gold Spot from the house of Sarah Baker. Two more fragrances, guys. Going to the house of Boadicea the Victorious is Bodacious. This is one of the best cherry fragrances I've put my nose on. The fragrances from this house act very three-dimensional. If I was to make vision a smell and have like a three-dimensional, like a 3D glasses, everything from this house just is alive and really amplified and really like almost like three-dimensional. Something about the fragrances of this house is amazing, and that's what I like about this one. It's a very woody, boozy, fruity gourmand. It's a cherry gourmand, and you must be into cherry fragrances. And if you like fragrances like Lost Cherry and things like that, this is definitely one for you to try. Bodacious from Boadicea the Victorious. For me, I also get like a little bit of a mulled wine or a cherry wine experience, if there's such a thing as cherry wine, because there's some booziness in here. It's just really, really delicious. One of the best cherry fragrances I've put my nose on, next to Cherry Punk Extrait, which I still like, but even though they feature cherries, both of them, Cherry Punk Extrait is more leathery, and the leather is highlighted. Here I don't get much leather whatsoever. This is a full-on gourmand, and it's got a lot of woods and a lot of cherry and boozy notes. Oh, don't forget the almonds as well, because that's a given that would be in here. So this is Bodacious from the house of Boadicea the Victorious. And then last but not least, we'll talk about 54. So first of all, this is a very patchouli forward fragrance, but there's a lot of gourmand notes thrown in. So I would call this like a woody gourmand. Patchouli is king here. It's very earthy. It's very sexy. And then vanilla as well. Let me read you the notes. It's vanilla resin with patchouli. There's rum, pina colada, cinnamon bark, tobacco, sandalwood, chocolate accord, davana, saffron, cardamom, nagarmotha. So a lot of spices for sure. But up top, the creaminess from the pina colada note, which is pineapple and coconut. So there's a creamy factor in this fragrance, and because there's also chocolate in here, people think it's a chocolate milky fragrance. So there's certainly like gourmand qualities, but for me, the star of the fragrance is patchouli. And I think when this was featured on the Beauty Coming Soon section of Harrods, they completely left off the patchouli. I'm like, what the heck? This is a patchouli focused fragrance. They're calling it a gourmand, which is, I agree, it's a gourmand fragrance, but it's more patchouli. Like, you've got to be into patchouli. And there's also tobacco in here. The tobacco is prominent. So if you like fragrances like Tobacco Vanille, you might dig this one as well. But just think of the Tobacco Vanille with the addition of patchouli as well. Anyway, I'm featuring it here. Hopefully it's selling now. If it's not very soon. And the date to be determined for the rest of the world outside of Harrods is soon. I will find out what it is and report it. But most likely, since it's delayed at Harrods, I think this is probably going to get the rollout in October sometime in the States. But either way, 54 is a fragrance I collaborated with Juicebox and Julian Rascanet on. The whole idea was mine, and we came up with the concept. Anyway, Juicebox is 54. Hopefully you guys will get your nose on it soon. But what are your thoughts on these woody gourmand fragrances? Again, I didn't think about doing a woody gourmand video until I thought a little bit, and then I figured out, wow, we've got a woody gourmand here. What about, you know, a list of woody gourmand fragrances? But let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Put a comment down below, and if there's another woody gourmand that you enjoy, do write a comment so I can find out what it is. But either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.